This is Arlen out of Trader's Gate again with a simple how-to. This is how to iron your fabric. Right now I am ironing a few layers of Kona cotton. This started off at 108 inches wide, and that's per yard. So imagine 108 inches by 36 inches. This is generally just under $30 a yard. This I bought, it was on sale at like 14, and then I bought a full bolt, so I got another like 20 or $30 off. So all in all, a bolt of this cost me like 80 bucks, and it's enough fabric here to do quite a bit. Now, what I'm doing here, like I said, this is for a tunic I'm doing. This is for my own new tunic. One of the few things I do when I do my tunics, I do it pretty simple. Front and back panels over the chest are always going to be the same size. This isn't generally done for fitted garments. Depending on what that garment is, the back piece sometimes ends up being a little bit bigger. If you're a large person like I am, being overweight, your front torso pieces will be bigger, like especially on like something like a vest. You'll just have more fabric on the belly area and on the chest than you would on the back. Now, with that, when it comes to doing stuff like that, you are going to fix that by how you position your neck hole and how you do your sleeves. But going back to the ironing here, I have 4 layers of fabric. It's 2 pieces. Each piece is folded in half. Now, if you want to know something that's kind of like an unwritten rule or a law, if you will, of ironing fabric and cutting it, if you want them the same size and they're folded like this, you don't lay the 2 sheets unfolded on top of each other, then fold it over. What you want to do instead is take your first piece, fold it in half, press the seam in the center. This is the center seam. And then you're going to take your second one, fold it in half, iron down the crease, and then you're going to stack them. So that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm actually ironing down those creases at the same time. The reason you layer your fabric like that is, and you can see this is pretty evident, and not just talking to hear my own voice, but if you take a few sheets of paper, let's say, I think it'll be noticeable here. Let's actually do this. So here's exactly what I've done. I have multiple sheets of paper. This is the length of my fabric. I fold it in half. I crease it. It's pretty flat, right? It's very flat. This is the second piece of that tunic. I fold it in half real fast. It's ironed. And actually, I will iron the paper too, because paper ironed smells weird. So, just do it, right? You'll see paper curls once you apply heat like that. And then you lay them flat. You lay them on top of each other. Get your whatever you need traced out. Going to cut your neck hole out. If you cut your neck holes out at this point, cut your sleeve holes out. So here's your shoulder to neck. Then when you unfold it, right, you'll have these marks there. You're good to go. Now the reason why you do this, fold a sheet, fold another sheet and stack them, versus putting them together. and then folding them is because when you do that, it's not evident with one or two pieces. But what's going on is that this piece is folded around this piece. As obviously you saw me do that. What ends up happening with that is that if you were to do it, it becomes more noticeable the more pieces of paper you do this with. You already see it right here, what it's doing. You can't get your fabric fully folded, touching end to end, when you do more than one stack at a time. And now, with 4 pieces of paper, you can definitely see there is a huge difference in that. And that is going to be reflected in your fabric. So, take your time. Do one, like, look how you can almost see that, right? That line. That's because this is wrapped around multiple layers of fabric, or multiple sheets of paper. Versus this, did it crooked, but you get the idea. You're going to lose out on space. Losing out on space means losing out on fabric. Losing out on fabric means that you have a higher profit that you have to try to make up for. You're going to go through more material than you really need to. And if you're lazy like me, you're already going through quite a bit of material. Because I don't do... Although I have and really enjoy the Bogston Man tunic. If you don't know about the Bogston Man, it was I think he was a Celt or German, found dead in a bog, and he was petrified. You'll see I'm going to have to do... Oh, that was dangerous. I should not have done that. You'll see that my corners don't match up here, but that's fine because all the fabric here is still oversized. So that way I could fix it as I go. So the Bogston Man, he was wearing clothing where every single piece of the fabric was cut square or into a rectangle. And all of his gores, all of the gussets, etc. on this particular garment were cut square because that cuts costs. It makes making customized clothing a lot cheaper. So going back to the actual ironing process. The reason why we iron is, of course, to get rid of creases, gets rid of folds, makes everything straight, makes everything flat. Now, the reason why I'm doing this right now is because I'm very lazy with how I do my sleeves. I am wanting to cut those out all together, all at once. Sorry for the wobble there. And so right now, I'm just trying to make sure that this, because this has already been squared off. I did it yesterday, with the exception of the bottom, like you saw. So one of the things, okay, this is exactly what I wanted this to do. So we are ironing to get rid of this. This is important. If we just leave this here, if we just cut our fabric the way that it is, this is going to affect the overall fit and the shape of this garment. So, when we see those, formed another one here in the bottom. When we see those, what we're wanting to do, when the fabric is folded like this, we want to take those ripples furthest away. It's kind of like doing a squeegee job for like tinted windows. It's that same idea. You want to get rid of all the bubbles. You want to get the fabric as straight and as flat as it can be. Pre-washing your fabric. This was pre-washed. If you do not pre-wash your fabric and you make custom stuff for people, you are ripping them off. Especially if it is cotton or linen. Because what's going to happen is that all of those fabrics have a shrink rate. Cotton has a 5 to 10% shrink ratio. 5 to 10%. So this matters in those very rare instances where somebody wants something that is fitted, especially with the cost of stuff. This tunic, if I were to do it for somebody else, would be at least $300 with what is planned on it. So, you'll see my lineup here isn't perfect, but that's fine because they're both flat. And that's going to happen when you have multiple layers, and this is why we want to iron everything. So the reason why I was doing this is, like I said, I am lazy. Right here is going to be the seam. This will become a flat fell. I got my neck marked out right here. This is shoulder. This goes to armpit. This goes out to the side. And this is actually, normally, depending on the person's body shape, this replaces a gusset or a gore. This fabric right here is generally in this area that I would have just added in this piece of fabric. But as I said, this particular pattern is to be lazy. This right here is all getting cut out. These will be used for pockets later for something else, because those are big enough, I think. Yeah, so I have to have pockets in my pants because I have medical equipment that has to be on me at all times so I can stay alive. And so I like to make sure future pockets are measured out correctly. So we're going to switch the order of this. We're going to put this one, oops, sorry. So earthquake there. You're on a telescoping, maneuverable neck kind of tripod thing right now. It's connected to this work desk. So everything's been ironed pretty nicely. This was the one that was on top. So we're just going to do another press on the side. And yeah, after this is all cut, I'm going to have to do another iron session to get rid of the crease from the center, because that will influence everything, right? So right now, this is to make sure that everything is square. Because like I've got that right there, that cutting board. So now, let's get this out of the way. Sorry, this was taking longer than I wanted it to. So now the next step, if you have alligator clips, those could be very helpful here. If not, safety pins or straight edge pins, whatever you want to call them. My porcupine tomato would come in handy here right now. But we are just putting this together. Now I'm not going to show this next part in this video. That'll be something coming up next. But everything's as square as we can make it square. Another reason why I like making enormous tunics is for this very reason, is that I can constantly edit and change whatever is going on. That's just my style. That's my method. I also like wearing, I think I've said this before, if it gets too cold and I have to wear a coat or a hooded sweatshirt, I want my tunic big enough to go over that, so that way people see the art. They see the tunic over, or rather versus seeing street clothes. Street clothes at AmpGuard, ass. Don't do it. If it's too hot, wear some shorts and a tabard, but there's no reason not to be wearing something. So next video, I'm going to be cutting this out. I'm going to be drawing out this line. Probably adding in an extra inch here, and then marking it all the way down to where the belt line is, because from the belt line is where I do like a bell-bottom flare for all of my tunics. I like doing those that way because it gives you more legroom, and there's more space in there for you to do some cool applique stuff. So, and that's the plan for this, is that there's, French seams, flat fell seams up here, applique and embroidery, and a bunch of other different stuff. So, I haven't decided yet, but originally this was supposed to be also lined as well. So, we will see about that. I'm not entirely sure, because I want that to be a whole separate thing, because there's 3 different ways of doing lining on a garment. So that's this. If you have any other questions, about ironing, yes, you should use water. I generally use a spray bottle, but I'd already had this done. I just had to show you the process. So I will see you guys later. Thank you. Bye.